Hello.
Hello, Harriet. We were just wondering if we could ask you some questions about being a deputy stage manager.
Yeah, come on in.
Thank you. So, Harriet, what is the role of a deputy stage manager?
So I keep track of all the lighting and the cues and the blocking of the actors, and then during the show what I'll do is I'll call the cues. So I'm the person who says like, oh, lighting, you go now, LFX now.
So, what are the primary duties of a deputy stage manager during rehearsals?
So during a rehearsal, what I do is I keep track of all the blocking, so what the actors are doing, what the director is using, telling the actors to do. So the blocking is very important because that means that we can keep track of where everything is. I also put down spikes, so the little tapes on the floor. That's especially important during like technical runs and stuff like that. Make sure everyone knows what's going where.
How does a deputy stage manager communicate with the cast and crew?
Well, so I've got a lovely little headset that I can use to talk to people. A lot of the time it's through emails, maybe group chats. I'm just making sure that everyone knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And what is the relationship between a deputy stage manager and the stage manager?
So I basically take care of all the paperwork for the stage manager. I keep track of what's going on. I'm always making sure that I'm in communication with the stage manager. I'm basically just like their bitch.
So, how does a deputy stage manager contribute to the performance's smooth running?
Well, so I'm in charge of a lot of the communications. I'm especially important during the show night because I'm the one making sure all those cues are on time, you know, lighting, sound effects, all that kind of stuff. So if I'm not there, essentially like everything falls apart. You know?
Yeah.
If a lighting isn't on cue or if something like that, it can essentially ruin the whole production. So that's what I'm there for.
Brilliant. So what is the role of a deputy stage manager during tech rehearsals?
So like I said earlier, during tech rehearsals, it's a lot of just keeping track of lighting and cues. During a technical rehearsal, a lot of the blocking can change, so I like to keep those on post-it notes, so I can move those around. A lot of finalising the cues, just keeping on top of paperwork, making changes as and when, and just always ensuring that I am in communication with the cast and crew.
Ah, brilliant. So what type of paperwork does a deputy stage manager manage?
So I have to keep control of a cue sheet. That's where I list all the lighting and sound effects cues. I also have a blocking manual script sort of thing where I keep all the blocking in there for the technical rehearsals and just any rehearsals really. Making sure continuity is very important. So I'm also in charge of keeping a performance report. That's essentially just like a little document that keeps track of all the challenges we faced during production night and the mistakes that were made, so that in future performances we can make sure that doesn't happen again.
So what are the blocking notes and why are they important?
So blocking notes essentially keep track of everything that an actor is doing on stage. It's where we put props, it's where we put actors. The importance is mainly continuity, so we can go to a rehearsal the next day and kind of be like, I remember what's happening here. If there's any confusion, that's where that's all cleared up. If someone doesn't remember what they're doing, that's when blocking notes become incredibly important.
Okay, so what is a deputy stage manager's role during the first night of any performance?
So during the first night of any performance, we're the ones in the little box. So we call the actors to their first positions. So if you don't know what first positions is, it's basically where they start off before the production starts. We're in charge of communications between cast and crew. Our biggest responsibility is calling the cues. So and that's what I mentioned before, where it's kind of telling the box when the lighting comes, when the sound effects comes, all that sort of stuff.
And how does a deputy stage manager handle last-minute changes to the show?
A good deputy stage manager will always keep a level head. The most important thing is keeping communications open, so making sure that the cast knows, making sure that the crew knows of any last minute changes. Sometimes that will mean making edits to the paperwork I've got, so maybe the blocking's changed or the cues have changed. And hopefully, if a deputy stage manager is good at their job, that means they will do all of those things and make sure there's no panic on set.
So can you tell me, Harriet, what is a cue sheet and how does a deputy stage manager use it?
So a cue sheet ties into a lot of what I've been saying already. It's a sheet that keeps track of all the cues that I need to call during the show. So that is really important because it basically means that nothing will get mixed or muddled up in the final production. Cue sheets are often liable to change, especially in tech runs where we encounter problems and stuff like that. So that's kind of what a cue sheet is. That answers your question.
Yes, it does. So how does a deputy stage manager contribute to the safety of any set?
So a lot of what we contribute is making sure that there are no hazards on the stage. That's a big part of it. Making sure that everything's cleared before the next scene. So we're in charge of raising the lights. We'll have a monitor that will show us what's on the stage, and if we think there's anything that's a possible hazard, then that's our job to make sure that that's cleared before the actors come on stage again.
Brilliant. So what kind of skills are essential for a deputy stage manager?
I would say clear communication, organisation. I think we have to keep track of a lot of notes, a lot of cues. I would also say, just friendliness, being open, good to work with. I think those are the main things for me.
Brilliant. So Harriet, how does the deputy stage manager assist with casting calls or auditions?
So we don't actually help a lot with casting calls. That's mainly down to the casting director. But what we do is we manage schedules quite a bit. So that's where those sort of areas overlap. If the casting directors need any help with paperwork and stuff like that, that's where we will be able to step in.
And finally, Harriet, what happens if a deputy stage manager must take over the stage manager's duties?
So a lot of the time that means taking over, overseeing the entire production. It will also mean keeping an eye on crew. Stage managers kind of keep track of everyone working backstage, so that would then be my job. Any good deputy stage manager is always prepared to take on the role of stage manager because it does happen, and sometimes in smaller productions the roles blend a little bit, so a deputy stage manager and a stage manager kind of become the same thing. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you very much.